But let's think of the specific wording of this Isaiah 57 text. Thus saith the high and the lofty one. Is that talking about you? Is that talking about me? Do any of you think of yourself as high and lofty? Well, multitudes of Christians think that God might be a half-inch bigger than them. But that's not what God reveals. Has it ever occurred to you that the value you place upon the cross itself is profoundly impacted by the distance you sense exists between God and yourself? You have a low view of God and a high view of self. Maybe a half-inch cross is big enough. But when you begin to see God as the high and the lofty one, a half-inch cross cannot bridge the gap. A 3-foot cross is inadequate. A 30-mile cross will not do it. There is an infinite gap between the holy God and ourselves. And as your understanding of the greatness of God increases, and your understanding of your own miserable inconsequence increases, then your understanding of the cross increases to the point where the cross becomes all to you. Thus saith the high and the lofty one, who inhabits eternity. Now, it's not much to look at, but look at the old man standing here. Would any person be so silly as to say, now there's somebody who inhabits eternity? Well, by the grace of God, I've got endless life, but I haven't been around endlessly. I had a beginning point. There was a vast history where I didn't exist at all. But God inhabits eternity. And when I meditate upon the eternal nature of God and the finite nature of myself, then my view of God is greatly enlarged as my view of self is shrinking. But the point that really speaks so strongly to me is this next statement, whose name is holy. Now, I have a perfectly wonderful wife. I have been incredibly blessed in her. And in her sweetness and kindness, she has often spoken to me in language that is perfectly lovely. But never in our 52 years of marriage did she salute me as the Holy One. Never did she introduce me to some friend of hers by saying, his name is holy. She knows that I'm aware that God is holy. She knows that I think there is no beauty on all the earth like the beauty of holiness. But she knows I'm not holy. But this God, who is high and lofty, and who inhabits eternity, does rightly bear the name holy. But now, here's the great thrust of this passage. Has it ever dawned on you? God has a very severely limited habitation. God dwells in only two places. He dwells in the high and the lofty place. And he dwells in the heart and in the spirit of the broken and the contrite. The church is loaded with people who have never known even an hour of brokenness and contrition, let alone of life of brokenness and contrition. Maybe some have crept in here now who know nothing of brokenness and contrition. Has it occurred to you that it is absolutely wrong to describe yourself as a Christian when you are not broken and contrite? Or is God a liar? And he says out of one side of his mouth, I dwell in only two places. But then, of course, he says, you understand that I'm not truthful and I'm dwelling in you in all your arrogancy and pride. No, it's not that way. But let me press this matter a bit further. Some of you consider yourself having been used of God to win people to Christ. Did you make it clear to them that they could not come to Christ in arrogancy and pride? That the only people in whom God finds habitation are the broken and the contrite? And when you stand to preach, do you understand as you preach that your task as a preacher is to make the God of the Bible so infinite in the minds of all the hearers that they are crushed and broken and crying out from the depths of their soul, what shall I do? No, the church is loaded with those who openly admit their pride and their arrogancy and yet insist that they are Christians.